welcome to a Northwell side-by-side video. I'm once again in the workshop. What I've come in to do tonight was fix the inner tube that got the puncture on Sunday when I was out on the e-bike. Well, whilst I've been sat in the workshop, I've got my MacBook here, and one of the videos that came up that I'd put in my playlist.
You'll love our fun-packed everything electric expos around the world.
Robert Llewellyn,
in Harrogate,
fully charged
and
show.
Vancouver. Remember, energy and transport
And
professionals.
whilst I was trying to find
free.
the crack in my tube, I'm listening to this prick, this evangelist, this defender of electric vehicles, and something caught my attention in the video. Well, 2 or 3 articles caught my attention actually, and one was about Mercedes-Benz EV wagons, and we're talking big tractor units here. The articulated tractor part of the truck, the bit that's got the engine in that the driver sits in. I'm going to find the little bit now about what he says about this particular truck.
Hello and welcome to another lovely, warm and cuddly episode of Almost Breaking News from the Fully Charged Show. My name is Robert Llewellyn. I'm the founder and one of the presenters of the Fully Charged Show and the Everything Electric Show. And there does seem to be a lot of almost breaking news around, specifically about electric vehicles, because in the past month I have been invited on various BBC television and radio channels, no fewer than 5
bloody adverts
times to take part in discussions about how everyone has stopped buying electric cars and will never buy them again, and the underlying story, a very small group of people, is down to this annoying, and we're not talking 50 or 100 cars, we're talking they are buying new electric cars. Next up,
you heard that? They are buying new electric cars. No. You and me, the buying public, are buying a very, very small amount of electric cars. The people that are buying electric cars are fleet buyers, companies, big companies. Why? Because your money, my money, our tax money is incentivizing electric cars, and they're getting tax breaks when they buy electric cars. All that's propping the electric car market up at the moment is incentives by the government. Take the incentives away, and I'm telling you, nobody in their right mind is going to buy an electric car, because they're too expensive once you take the incentives away. We don't get incentives on the hybrids, we don't get incentives on petrol, we don't get incentives on diesels. Hybrids, petrol, diesel, they stand on their own in the marketplace, and people are buying them in vast amounts. Diesel not so much nowadays, because hybrids taken over. But not many people are buying them for personal use, electric cars. They're just not interested in them. It's fleets that are propping the market up. So, let's continue listening to what he's got to say.
Okay, enough about electric cars in the UK. What about electric trucks?
Electric trucks.
USA and Germany. Well, Daimler have just reported that sales of their battery electric commercial vehicles jumped by 183%. That is quite a large jump. Now, yes, of course, I know this is still a very small part.
You heard what he said then. Daimler-Benz, the Mercedes parent company, the sales for their trucks in the first quarter of 2024 have gone up 183%. This is how he works all the time. Not sales figures, percentage. Now, I've been looking for the figures whilst I've been in here tonight. Last year in total, Mercedes sold 973 EV wagons. That was all they sold. This year, the figure is Daimler Truck managed to sell 3,443 electric vehicles globally. You can see how small these figures are. This is why he doesn't give figures out. It sounds better in percentage. And this is how he justifies electric trucks. I don't know if you can see. Can you see the screen? Yeah, you can. Truck, coach. They're all classed as electric commercial vehicles. It's always percentages he portrays them in. That's a small amount of what Mercedes sell globally with diesel powered vehicles. This is nothing. All that's buying these are big fleets again, because they're incentivized to buy these wagons. Let's carry on with the video and listen to what he says about distance.
Electric commercial vehicles jumped by 183%. That is quite a large jump. Now, yes, of course, I know this is still a very small part of their huge truck business, but it's growing faster than anyone predicted. No one thought this would catch on so quickly. Electric trucks work. They can do the job they're designed to do, and their overall TCO, which is total cost of ownership, is, like cars, much cheaper. Regular viewers will know that I recently drove their e-Actros 600 heavy-duty electric truck on the Fully Charged show, and my goodness, I drove it so well. The rear wheels...
Yeah, he did go over to Germany and test one of these Actros 600 tractor units. How do you think he got there? He didn't drive an electric car. He flew at Mercedes's cost on a jet aeroplane. And this is a guy who's pushing zero emissions. He travels all over the world on planes. He's done shows in Australia. You can't get to Australia in an EV. You've got to go on a jet plane. And he's all about zero emissions. He's just a hypocrite.
Ploughed a small field, but other than that, it was
Let's
brilliant.
just carry on watching.
And it's amazing how far these trucks have improved in the last few years.
Yeah, he's going on about the distance these trucks can travel. Listen. And he does it in kilometres and kilometres, not miles. Because you'll always get, it sounds better in kilometres, because kilometres is always a bigger number than miles. And this is how they trick people into thinking they've got a massive range.
This big beast has a range of 500 kilometres. I mean, we're not talking a little van. This is a big, proper truck. And of course, in reality, thousands of trucks need to travel much less than 500 kilometres at a go. You know, they're delivering things all around a city, and they're quiet, and they're clean, and they don't have a diesel engine. Of course, the numbers of heavy-duty electric trucks sold in Europe is dwarfed by how many were sold in China. 5,600 electric or fuel cell medium and heavy-duty trucks were sold in China in the final month of last year, in 1 month.
Stop the video there. 500 kilometres is the range of the Actros 600. What he's forgetting to tell you there is, he hasn't said whether that truck is fully laden with a full 22 tons on the back of it. Was that tested in a lab? Was it tested in the real world? It doesn't tell you. But 500 kilometres is about 280 miles. $280. There's couriers who deliver and in one day and travel 280 miles. They fill their diesel vans up in the morning. They might not fill them up for 2 or 3 days. These things are useless. They can't do their job in these trucks. 500 kilometres, it's not a lot. And then he goes on about using them in towns. Yes, you do see articulated lorries in towns, but that's not what articulated lorries are for. Articulated lorries are for travelling across Europe, into Britain on the ferry, across Britain, over to Holyhead, catch the ferry from Holyhead into Ireland. That's what they're for. Massive long distances. I see it day in, day out on the A55. Polish wagons. They've filled up in France. They've come across on the ferry. They've driven all the way up Britain, across the entire coast of North Wales, caught the ferry in Ireland. Do that in an electric truck? No chance. How many times are they going to have to stop? Charge? Where? They start in Poland. They've got 1,000 miles of range on their fuel tanks. If it's a diesel truck, 1,000. That's 3 times more than the actual 600 can do on one charge. They fill up in France. They catch the ferry. They don't buy fuel in Britain. The next time they fill up is in Ireland. That's how they work. They buy the fuel where it's cheapest. They don't make any sense. And this guy's just buy an electric truck, buy an electric truck. Look how good they are. They're clean. They're not clean. They are not clean.
The tally for all types of fully electric commercial vans and trucks sold in China last year totaled over 330,000. That's how many electric trucks are on the road in China.
He's going on about China now. One country in the world that has pushed electrification to the absolute limit. A lot of Chinese buyers have got no choice. That's all they can buy. And you wonder why the numbers are so big. He's going on about the biggest market for electric vehicles in the world. China. 343,000 electric commercial vehicles on the road in China. Yes, why? Because that's all they can buy. That's all the government will let them put on the road. And you wonder why their sales are so high. It's just crazy. Why doesn't he give us the figures for Europe, for America, for Britain? No, that's not how he works. It's all about the big numbers, the big percentages. And he's just mind-blowing people into thinking these things are the dog's dangly bits. They're not. They're not practical.
Why would they bother to do that? Oh, that means they don't have to import quite so much expensive, toxic, liquid fossil fuel that then costs millions and millions of dollars to refine. And then you burn it once. Once again, for the next...
Yeah, it makes me laugh. He's going on about how much fuel China have to import. But how much electricity does China have to produce to keep these vehicles on the road? China's one of the most polluting countries in the world. Why? They're building coal power stations like they were going out of fashion. Everywhere else in the world, our governments are going, we can't burn coal, we can't burn oil, we can't burn gas, we've got to have wind farms, solar. Solar and wind in this country, it's not going to keep us going. The Chinese are going, Bugger your sodding wind, bugger your solar. We're just going to build coal burning power stations. We can mine the coal dead cheap. We can chuck all the emissions into the atmosphere. We can produce cheap electric and we can sell it to our people. No, they're not clean. They are absolutely abysmally polluting. Electric vehicles are. They might not produce anything at the tailpipe because they haven't got a tailpipe. But look what's gone into producing the electric so they can be clean on the road. Makes no sense, please. Makes no sense.
Naysayers and fossil whiners. This is happening, and it's happening fast. And before you all ask, how are we going to charge all these fancy-pants electric trucks and vans?
No, it's the next article, another advert, bear with me. He's going to talk about misinformation now.
In the UK, this is often a very contentious issue. If you work at a hospital, it can be a nightmare. I mean, the people who work there have to pay to park. You know, anyway, it's often a hassle, even if you're visiting a friend or relative who is in hospital. One obvious solution is that if you can get to the hospital by walking, cycling or public transport, then that's the best option. But I can feel hackles rising as yes, that's not possible for everyone. That is implicit in the last statement. I said if you can, not you must, or you should, or your freedom should be crushed. Please calm down. But here's a story that was recently pounced on in the UK. A man recently visited Liverpool's incredible Alder Hey Children's Hospital in an electric car to visit his son, and he was informed he couldn't park it there because of the fire risk. The hospital had been informed by the local fire department that until they had installed a new sprinkler system, they should not let electric car drivers park there. So, a little bit of explanation is needed. Alder Hey is one of the biggest children's hospitals in Europe. It has a lot of space on its site dedicated to parking. It also has 14 electric car charge points in their multi-storey car park. So they're not anti-electric cars, the hospital.
That makes me laugh. The hospital is enormous. I mean, it is massive. It's one of the best children's hospitals in the United Kingdom. They've got...
It's 11 o'clock.
Multiple car parking spaces. But all the electric car charging ports, 14 of them, are in a multi-storey car park. They're all inside. That is a recipe for disaster. An absolute recipe for disaster. We saw what happened in Luton when one car caught fire. I'm not saying it was an electric car that caught fire. I'm not saying it was a diesel that caught fire. It doesn't matter what started the fire. What matters is what happens when an EV catches fire and it's inside and they're all parked close together because all the EV charging points are all next to each other. Say a petrol car catches fire in that airport. Then the car next to it catches fire. Then an EV catches fire. Thermal runaway. So now you've got a massive problem. Petrol, diesel, they're easy to put out. Once an EV catches fire, that's it. It's game over. We all saw Luton Airport. We also saw the devastation because there was electric cars in the car park. Some were charging, some were not. But they all caught fire and they all went into thermal runaway. We've seen the consequences of charging electric cars in a confined area. Alder Hey is the same. Charging their electric cars in a confined area. It's not if it's going to happen, it's when it's going to happen. And we're going to have another Luton Airport fire, but at a more important place, shall we say, because a hospital's more important than an airport. Like I said, it might not be an EV that starts the fire, it could be another car, but what I'm saying is it's the EVs that are causing the problem when they do catch on fire. And I'll say one thing now. All the years EVs have been on the road, and I'm going to say this because this is true, I haven't yet knowingly seen an EV on fire at the side of the road. But yes, I have seen diesels on fire, and I have seen petrol cars on fire. And what is the reason for that? Percentage wise, more petrols and diesels on the road, which means there are more chances of a petrol or a diesel car catching fire. But they're easy to deal with. Fire brigade turn up, a couple of 1,000 gallons of water, it's gone, it's out. They can put it on the low loader, take it away, deal with it, no problems. It ain't going to set itself back on fire. It's gone out, finito. Electric cars, electric vehicles, oh no, that's another story. One of them catches on fire, we are talking tens of thousands of gallons of water to put them out. Then, when they are out, there is a massive possibility that there are still hot spots in that battery and they can reignite. It's happened. We've had cars that have been on fire, back of low loaders, they're being taken away, they set on fire on the back of the low loader. Not once does that car go on fire, but twice. It then destroys the low loader as well. Yeah. And there's been cases where they've managed to get these cars to a yard. And a lot of yards don't want them because they've got to store these cars so far away from anything else they've got. That's wasted space. They don't want to waste space in these yards because they can't get other vehicles in. They've got to put an EV on its own. And if they don't put it on its own, they've got to have infrastructure to store that EV in big containers, and it's got to be immersed in water. These are the problems with EVs when we're dealing with them. If something goes wrong and they do go on fire, they are an absolute royal pain in the arse when they've been on fire. And look how many of them get written off. A minor fender bender. And because of that, the insurance companies are like, we're not fixing that. We're just going to write it off. We don't even want to entertain that EV. No, just scrap it. Just take it apart, scrap it. And you wonder why our insurance costs are going up. It's to cover these very expensive cars that they're just writing off. You have a little fender bender in your petrol or diesel. What do? Goes down to the body shop, insurance pay for it, gets fixed, repainted, you get the car back in a couple of weeks. That doesn't happen with a lot of electric cars. They're scrapped. What a waste of resources. What a waste of my money, your money, and everybody else's money to prop up what is a failing industry. The EV industry is failing. Then were just two items I wanted to cover in this video that Robert Llewellyn is going on about. The trucks and the total sales in China. That hospital story. It's not the hospital that don't want people parking EVs in this car park. It's the fire brigade in the area who said, you need this infrastructure in place. He doesn't tell the whole story. The hospital have to follow the guidelines from the people who are going to come and put the fire out. And it's them that have said, no, you need this sprinkler system in place, and the hospital haven't got it. They've now got to spend multiple thousands of pounds to update their car park. Where's that money coming from? Your tax pounds, my tax pounds, your mum's tax pounds, your dad's tax pounds, your kids' tax pounds. If we just stuck to petrol and diesel, we wouldn't be updating these car parks because we wouldn't need to. We're just pampering for these EV owners now when we shouldn't even. They shouldn't be allowed on the road. They are ticking time bombs. Totally ticking time bombs. I know I'm going to get slated on this video. I really don't care. I've already been slated on other videos where I've slagged EVs off. And there's me, just built an e-bike. But what's not in my e-bike? Let me show you what's not on my e-bike. Can you see it? What's missing? That bit there. Lithium battery. No way does that stay on that bike in an enclosed space. That battery is in a fireproof steel container, well out the way. I don't want it anywhere in this workshop, just in case. Not entertaining it. It is not going in my workshop. I think I've had my say. I'm going to go back to fixing my puncher because I found it. I've marked it, but whilst I was looking for the puncher and I was listening to this, I just thought, you know what, I've got the camera with me, it's in my pocket, let's put it on the tripod. Let's just have a little listen to some of the codswallop and rubbish Robert Llewellyn's talking these days. And whilst we're on the subject of fully charged, Quentin Wilson. Yeah, Quentin Wilson, ex-Top Gear, ex-Fifth Gear, petrol head. All he's done for years is run around in petrol cars. Now he hasn't got the car industry backing him, getting him out testing petrol cars. He's had to go and find another income. So he's hooked up with Robert Llewellyn. His income's now coming from the EV industry. And he's another one. He goes off with Robert Llewellyn all around the world with the production crew, and they fly everywhere. And they're promoting zero emissions. It is false hopes, people. You're never ever going to have zero emissions. Even if they get us out of our cars, stop us using electric because they can't produce enough. Even if we end up living in caves, you still haven't got zero emissions. Because you've got to keep warm somehow, so you're going to have a log fire. You're going to sit around a fire again. Sit there in your bearskin coats and whatever you can hunt, eating buffalo or whatever. Yeah, it's an absolute farce. Absolute farce. Right, back to me puncher. I've had me little say tonight. This guy pisses me off nowadays. Quentin Wilson pisses me off nowadays. Royally, and he doesn't stop. Quentin doesn't stop anymore. Quentin's sort of changed sides. Robert Llewellyn's been at it since 2010, something like that, when he started the channel. I used to like him. I loved him as Crichton in Red Dwarf, and that's where he should have stayed. On a spaceship in the middle back of Beyond. He should never have come back to Earth to sprout all this bull, basically. Hey, thanks for watching. Please consider liking, please consider subscribing. Hope you enjoyed my little EV rant. Thank you very much.